Can you really create silence with schizophrenia? You know, that's one of the things about schizophrenia is why it's like such a horrible and not appealing mental disorder to have. It's because there's constant chit chatter in your brain sometimes. Depending on the severity of your case, I know I picked up chronic schizophrenia and I picked up mine. I went from one day not having any schizophrenia to chronic within a really short period of time because of what I did. And, sometimes, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, sometimes I'm, like, sitting there just chilling my own thoughts, like, it's pretty aggravating when you hear a voice try and commentate what you're like thinking of, and it's like, and it'll like kill like the drive to elaborate or continue that thought pattern because like you hear someone else say it and you're like, why am I thinking that again? And it's like, and then you get all distracted from the voice, and actually, your train of thought is just jumping. Bing, 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 and you can feel like you can get nothing done. That's kind of how I felt sometimes when it first started. Like I felt like I was getting nothing done the day. It's just a really stressful process because like I'm sitting in my bed right now making this video for you, and most of the time, like recently, like right before I got hired at the life insurance company I just got hired at, like I'd sleep a lot of the day. Like I'd sleep till like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, just not because I was tired, but just so I wouldn't hear anything. I'd be in like a deep unconscious state. I'd still be awake, but I wouldn't hear anything. And I want to tell you, it's possible to actually go several minutes without hearing voices. Like, in the comments below, let me know how often you hear your voices. I hear them like once every couple seconds. And it's like a different voice every single time because I do what I do to basically get rid of the voice. I negate it. And, I know like a year ago when I was having this problem, it was so horrible for me. Like, picture like being like a party, but the whole party is like against you and trying to kick you out, but there's no way out. So it's like they're like throwing licks and stabs and jabs at you, and they're throwing as much uppercuts and trying to punch you and knock you out and be like, you can't sleep. Like my voice used to tell me I couldn't sleep at night. There was times whenever like it first started like a year in, like it literally like I would wake up questioning if I could go to sleep that night because of how like treacherous and like the voices were and the non-stop nagginess of them. So sometimes when you're like out there searching for silence, like you gotta just realize like it's gonna take some time. You may need to do some things. You may need to find a coping method to basically negate the voices for you. Because I know for me, my clip, like when I do that, like just like it will eliminate the current voice that's talking to you. And it's one of those things where like, but it did produce negative symptoms for me a little bit. So sometimes when you're on your conquest of silence, like the best medicine I can give to you is it can happen. You can have silence. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is to encourage you to kind of like, what I started doing to really help me like cope with this is I started to appreciate the voices more because I realized that voice, that opinion, that thought is never going to come back in that same like thought pattern behavior. It's never going to come back. That voice will never come back. That voice is never going to come back to me. So I remember I started to like appreciate the voices a little bit more. I started to appreciate their company. That's one of the things about being a schizophrenic is like I never feel alone now. It's kind of weird, but it's like a weird feeling. But I never feel alone. I can be doing absolutely nothing, be sitting here just on my computer listening to music, and I just like boys, let's get in the arc today or something like that. Something about space or like what I'm gonna do in the near future, like with these companies and stuff like that. So that's one of the things is like if you want silence, then take your medicine, work on a coping method, and believe it can happen for you. That's one of the hardest things I know about what schizophrenia can do for you. It can really like mess with your beliefs. Just like my schizophrenia, they got rock stuff continuously. That's how they used to communicate. They used to communicate with like rock and stuff. Like one person would say something, another person said the exact same thing, another person would say the exact same thing, another person would say the exact same thing, and they formed this like rockage. And there's an ambulance outside my house for some reason. Don't know why. It's not for me, of course. But I'm just saying, like, there's an ambulance outside my house. As you can see, the blue, red, blue. And so when you're chasing silence, like, and if you don't have schizophrenia and you're watching this video, you're lucky you have silence in your brain. Like, silence. Silence is such a blessing to come across. Like, it's such, you have no idea how nice it is just being able to, like, think and you, like, come back from a video like this and be like, and not hear a voice commentate it, but hear your, like, the actual views and opinions on it. It's so peaceful. It is so next level stuff. So, when you're chasing silence, back to what I was saying, give it time, work on yourself, and just have faith. You know, I was going to mention earlier about beliefs and stuff, and how, like, schizophrenia will, like, mess with your beliefs and will, like, alter your world, and it will do that if you let it. It will do that if you let it. And it can do that, even if you don't try and let it. And sometimes if you, like, fear, like, stopping the voice, like, because they're going to create this contingency, this negative symptom, you got to stand up for yourself. You really got to stand up for yourself and do what you got to do to get your necessary thoughts and maintain the control. Because it took me, like, 2 years, 3 years to get this annoying voice out of my brain. It took, like, 2-3 years. But once I got the voice gone with and dealt with it, didn't come back. That's one of the things. So when you're chasing silence with schizophrenia, just have faith, work on yourself, keep going, and believe it can happen for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If it did, show us some love, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more.